Well, this week it's my pleasure to spend some time talking with Nina Waite. There are some folks in the church who've been around in the church for decades, and then there are other folks who came much more recently. And Nina's one of the folks who've come in the last couple of years or so. And of course, for some of you, you may not have actually had the opportunity to spend much or even any time talking to Nina, because for at least half the time that she's been with us, we've all been online. It's kind of a strange time to join a new church. But it is an absolute delight to interview Nina, and I am so grateful that you're willing to do this afternoon, Nina. So tell us a little bit about yourself, just the headlines. Who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? Just in terms of that, and anything else you want to tell us about yourself.
Okay, hello. So I'm Nina and I live in Prestwich. I share a couple of dogs with my sister Jo. They're not here at the moment in case they stop barking.
Ah, good idea.
Um, and I'm a health visitor. I work in Blackley, North Manchester, around Heaton Parkway. And I've done
Okay,
that for about 6 years now.
right. What took you into health visiting? Well, let me start with the better question. What does a health visitor actually do?
That's a very good question. Um, so health visitors work with children under the age of 5 years old. So you work with the children and the families,
Uh-huh.
and it's a lot of health promotion work, a lot of empowering the families to um, have healthy ways, really, adopt healthy ways. There's also a mixture of development checks for the children, making sure that they're ready for school. There's a lot of referrals into other agencies, and there's a lot of child protection issues as well. You sort of look at the whole family, so you look at housing problems, health problems, um, up to date with vaccines. You work alongside other agencies, so it's a mixture really. You see a lot of different things
Are you one of the
involved.
good guys? Are you seen as the good guy when you turn up?
Mostly yes. Some people you possibly get to see them once, and then a lot of people generally don't need you a lot, and then there are some families that will rely on you quite a lot
Okay.
of the time, and you're sort of their go-to point um, for help with anything, which is nice in a way. Yeah, it's interesting. There's different aspects every day. You do see something new every day, so in that respect, it is really interesting.
So for the last 12 months almost now, you've been fully PPE'd. So you're covered up head to foot. How much more difficult is your job now?
Um, so back in March time, which seems a very long time ago, we were stopped from visiting. So the majority of a health visitor's work in the community is home visits, and then there are some clinic work. So clinics have been stopped completely at the moment because of the amount of people that come in, and you can't guarantee how many people are there. So back in March time, we were advised to stop visiting completely. So we went to telephone calls for our visits with people were all via telephone links. And that probably lasted about 8 weeks or so, which was strange going from actually visiting families in their own home environment to just chatting on the phone with people. It just wasn't the same at all. Um, yeah, it's been a strange time. People have definitely had some issues along the way. So at first, everybody was quite upbeat about it, and just taking it in the stride. And now people are getting quite upset with things, and a lot of families are struggling.
Mm.
Um, we have been back out visiting probably since July. If people want us to, is sort of like the strap line of phone before you go, check everybody's okay in the house. and obviously try and encourage them to let you know if they're not okay. And then as soon as people say that they're isolating, obviously you can't go and visit them, but people are still desperate because they want that contact, they want that social. So we have probably been seen a little bit more as a social contact for people, just to chat about their problems. Really, there's been a lot of mental health issues raised, I would be saying, in this time, probably more than we have ever seen. So yeah, people are relying on us, and they do want to see somebody. And yeah, some people are quite desperate, so a lot of people are, yeah, come out. So it's nice in a way, but PPE is strange to get used to, and is still strange to get used to. Trying to put everything on the doorstep when it's really windy and it's raining, as it is most of the time in Manchester, is difficult.
You said you've been doing this for 6 years. What did you do beforehand? What was?
So my background, I'm a children's nurse. So I did my training, and then I worked in a hospital. I worked on a neonatal unit for about 12 years. And then you have to do some more training to become a health visitor. So you do another year's training to get your qualifications to do public health nursing. So I went back to university and then out into the community.
Do you ever miss that other side of life?
Yeah, I miss the hands-on sort of side of nursing. And yeah, I miss the hospital, but I certainly don't miss the shift works and the night shifts and the unsocial hours. I miss the hands-on side of it, but I actually like this side, because once the babies were discharged from the hospital, you never knew, and I still always wonder what happened to them. You know, how they grew up, how they developed, and things like that. Whereas this side, you actually see that, and you see the family, so you see a little bit more of what goes on, really, because in hospital you are maybe a little bit blinkered of, this is your patient, this will make them better, and then we'll send them home. Whereas this is more the whole family that you're looking after. So you do see them develop, and then when they go on to have more children, then you carry on
See them
seeing
again.
yeah, I'm back again, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not so good.
I said that at the beginning that you've been part of a church for just under 2 years, but you've been a Christian much longer. Tell us about becoming a Christian. What made faith compelling for you?
So yeah, I was brought up a Catholic. So mum and dad were Catholics. They used to take myself and my sister Jo to church. So yeah, we grew up in that environment. Went to Catholic school, and then got into teenage years, and we then were allowed to make the choice of whether we wanted to go to church or not. So church became quite boring, really. So yeah, then I decided, it was okay not to go to church. And that was probably till about probably university time. So I came over to Manchester to do my nurse training, and at that time Jo was going to one of the bigger churches in Manchester. So some weekends I used to go over and stay with her, and sort of say, do you want to come? Do you want to come over? So that sort of got me back into visiting churches, really, and a different style of church, more relaxed, more open, lots of young people there. So yeah, I went a few times with her, and then there was just, I can't say specifically, but there was just something one Sunday where they were just chatting about things, and sort of thought, I want to know a little bit more about this. Obviously I had the background and I understood and I knew, but it just never really felt real for me. It felt more like I was just going because that's what you do, and you just go along with everybody, and it's sort of like, yeah, but I don't know, there was something that weekend that just sort of spoke to me, and I thought, yeah, I want to know a little bit more about this, and I actually want to do it a little bit more for myself rather than just going along to something and just sort of ticking the boxes, sitting there and going, okay, then bye, see you next week. So yeah, that was I think 1999 when I was doing my training. So yeah, a while ago.
One of the things that often I kind of get interested by is it's interesting to hear how people discover faith, or for whom faith becomes, owned and real. But the other question is what's kept you going? Why, in 20 years there will have been times where you might have been disappointed with other Christians, or you might have been disappointed by, sometimes even a sense of being disappointed by God, that sometimes it's just not quite worked out the way you might have thought. What's kept you going during those years?
There has been times. Yeah, it's not all plain sailing, that's for sure. There are times where you do question things, and you sort of think, what is going on? Where was God in that situation? Things like that. But I think for me, that there is something that I know God exists, and I know He's real. I know that He has a plan for me. And as much as you want to know now, you want to know the whole plan now, there is something that just sort of keeps you going. And even in the difficult times, I know that there is something there, and just to keep going, really. Yeah, and just, I suppose, having other people around you to encourage you. So you're not just on, yes, you are on your journey, but you are helped by other people, because it would be quite, especially during this time, I suppose, when you haven't been able to meet with people the same, it's looking at ways to keep connected. Because it would be quite easy to just go, okay, well, we can't go out, we can't see anybody, literally you're here, and then you're going to work and maybe going to the shop, and yeah, so it is looking wider at things, to stay connected with people.
Sure. You joined the church just 2 years ago, and and as I said, one of those years has been sort of online, really. But what, we don't need to comment on the church you were part of, but what was it about our own church that you thought, actually, this is a place I could call home? This is a place I could put down roots.
Yeah, so I went to another church, a very large church, for a while, and things changed. I won't go into a lot of it, but things changed, and and I did start questioning whether that was the right place to be at that point. Just practically as well, things like traveling that was taking a long time, just things like that, and then just who are you actually friends, who are you connected with, who are you friends with, and things were changing. So started looking locally and visited a few different churches just to sort of see what was out there, really. And it's a big thing when you're considering leaving. Where'd you go? Where?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a big decision to leave somewhere, but then it's a really big decision to find another place, isn't it? It's really...
Yeah, it's do you stick with what you sort of know and what you have known for a few years, because that is your comfort zone? Or yes, where'd you go? So we went. So myself, Joe, and her husband Mike, we visited a few places. Yeah, there's some stories there. Yeah, somewhere, and we sort of used to come out and go, what did you think of that? And it's like, yeah, no, don't go back. And then we came to Elim one Sunday. We came on a family Sunday. Yeah, and I think somebody said, I can't quite remember, it might have been Ian, it might have been yourself, like, why have you come on this Sunday? We're like, oh, just come to see, that's fine. And people are very much, straight away, people were just very welcoming, and you just chatted, and that was one of the big things to me that struck me, that people were wanting to come over, wanting to say hi. There was no pressure whatsoever, and it just felt really, really welcoming. And down to where people felt genuine. That was the thing that struck me, was people were genuine. There was no falseness, no sort of, oh, better go and speak to these new people that have arrived. We tried to sneak in, we tried to sit at the back, that didn't quite work. Because we still, everybody's like, oh, great, they're at the back. Yeah, and straight away, we were made to feel welcome. People came over, because it was one of the family Sundays. There was lots of practical things going on, so you couldn't really hide anywhere. So straight away, you were involved in chatting to people. So yeah, it felt like a family thing, a family church, and that's what I want. It feels like people are genuine. Everybody has their own things going on there, but it just feels like you can come and you can say whatever has happened in the week. Nobody will judge you. People are supportive, and it's local. It's local church.
I think it's really, I mean, it's really encouraging to hear you say all of that, but I think in one sense, it makes me realize how simple welcoming people can be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you came on those first Sundays when we do all age, and they are different. They are. It's just different, and it's I'm committed to it. It's just different, but it's not about the slickness of worship. It's not about the slickness of speech. From the front. It's actually people talk to us, and they seem ordinary. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how simpler could it be?
Exactly.
That for folks who are looking for a church family, it's as simple as that. And I think that's both encouraging that it happened for you, but it's also just a really good reminder that that people just long for that sort of relationship, that straightforward relationships. And I think when, however the next months pan out, I think more and more people will really look for that in churches, because having been starved of those relationships for the best part of a year, I think we're gonna need it more than ever, really. So that's good. So how can people pray for you during these days?
I guess work has been busy. There's been a lot of change at work, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of demand, and I guess it's just, if people want to pray for me, probably a sense of calmness, when everybody else is rushing around panicking over things. It's hard sometimes not to get swept up in that chaos. So yeah, just maybe for strength during this time, that things get back to some kind of normality at some point next year, where hopefully we won't be wearing PPE on visits, would be really good. But yeah, just strength really, and I guess for God to sort of show me what the next sort of steps are for me, what the next plans are, where He wants me really at the minute. I guess that's the big thing at this time.
I think it's easy for those of us outside of your situation to say what I'm going to say, and I think it's easy for you to forget it. But I've got this sort of like just this awareness of you being someone in Blackley, which is not an easy area. Do you know what I mean? It's an area with a lot of poverty, and and the mix of people that we've got everywhere. But it's not an easy area, is it? but there you go as an agent of the kingdom of God into families. And some of those families, as you say, you see them over a much longer period of time. And I think as we pray for you, that sense of almost, well, not almost, but we send you in the name of the church and in the name of Jesus back out onto your mission field, which I'm sure some days doesn't feel like a mission field at all. I'm sure it just feels like I've just got to get from this house to that house. I've got to get this flipping apron and visor and everything else on. And as you say, in the wind and the rain. But actually, I think the way we would see you is as someone that God would want to use to minister to families as well as to care for them. Not that it involves a tambourine, but just that sense of going as the peaceful presence of God to people. It'd be a great thing for us to pray, and we would love to pray that for you in these days. Nina, thanks for the chance just to chat. Really delighted, and it'll be great when in the next months we can gather again in person, and you can be the people saying to the new folks, it's so good to have you with us. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.